I have three news stories for you. G7 countries are due to meet in the UK tomorrow, where Tigray conflict will come under discussion. Could we see further sanctions on Ethiopia in tomorrow's G7 summit? In the second news story, Ethiopian government officials and international relief organizations have issued conflicting statements about famine in Tigray. Has famine in Tigray begun or not? Thirdly, I'll have a look at US wheat arriving in Sudan. US has sent 48,000 metric tons of wheat to Sudan. Why is US helping Sudan? Why is Sudan important for the US? Let's look at the first news story. G7 countries are due to meet in the UK tomorrow. Joe Biden, US President, has arrived in the UK. The UK, US, France, Canada, Italy, Japan and Germany are 7 members of G7 group, which is basically an economic bloc, and it makes macroeconomic decisions. Monetary and fiscal key decisions are made by the 7 countries. In a previous session, G7 countries had addressed a Tigray conflict, and G7 countries had called for swift, unconditional and verifiable withdrawal of Eritrean forces from Tigray. After that session, we saw the US imposing sanctions on Ethiopia. US has imposed visa restrictions on Ethiopia, and some economic sanctions have also been imposed. EU has also withheld some assistance to Ethiopian government. Are we going to see further sanctions, economic sanctions on Ethiopia in tomorrow's session? It remains to be seen, viewers. We don't have any news that in tomorrow's session more sanctions could be imposed on Ethiopia. But discussions are underway, and we could see more pressure upon Ethiopian government in tomorrow's session about Tigray conflict. Tigray conflict will definitely come under consideration, under discussion in tomorrow's G7 summit, viewers. Second, viewers, second news story is about famine in Tigray. Ethiopian officials and international relief organizations are issuing conflicting statements about whether famine in Tigray has started or not. Reuters has published a news story, viewers, and Reuters says that it has seen exclusive documents and an unpublished report of the UN. And the report says that 350,000 Tigrayans are already in famine. According to Reuters, UN and other relief organizations are of the view that famine in Tigray is underway. But Ethiopian government officials are disputing this statement of international relief organizations. Mitika Kasa, who is Ethiopian Commissioner for Disaster Risk Management, last night held a press conference. He says that 70% of total cultivable land in Tigray has been cultivated. And secondly, he said that the 3 criteria which are mandatory to declare famine have not been met in Tigray. The 3 criteria are: firstly, there must be more than 2 deaths per 1,000 persons. Secondly, malnutrition rate must be greater than 30%. Thirdly, extreme lack of food must affect more than 20% population. Mitika Kasa says that Tigray does not meet these 3 criteria. That is why famine has not begun in Tigray. So, though the 2 sides cannot agree about the start of famine, but definitely tens of thousands of people are in dire need of humanitarian assistance. Just a few hours ago, EU and the US held a joint roundtable conference on humanitarian crisis in Tigray. In the conference, Linda Thomas Greenfield, US envoy to the UN, spoke, and she said that it was a failure of the UN Security Council, that nothing concrete has been done so far to resolve Tigray conflict. Take a listen to what Linda Thomas Greenfield said a few hours ago in the roundtable conference.
We cannot let Ethiopia starve. We have to act now. And yet, despite the best efforts of many members of the Security Council, and sadly, due to the impediments placed in front of us by some council members, the council still has not yet held a single public meeting or taken necessary action to address the human rights and humanitarian crisis that we're witnessing. What are we afraid of? What are we trying to hide? The Security Council's failure is unacceptable. We have addressed other emergent crises with public meetings, but not with this one. So I ask those who refuse to address this issue publicly, do African lives not matter?
The US is keeping sustained pressure upon Ethiopian government to resolve Tigray crisis. Meanwhile, US aid has announced allocation of additional 181 million US dollars to meet humanitarian needs in Tigray. Today, US aid announced that additional 181 million US dollars will be spent on safe drinking water, life-saving food, shelters, and other humanitarian needs in Tigray. US aid is definitely working extensively in Tigray. Third news story is about the US wheat arriving in Sudan, viewers. 48,000 metric tons of US wheat have arrived in Sudan. Offloading of this wheat is underway at Port Sudan. US is helping Sudan. Sudan is facing worsening economic crisis, inflation, unemployment, rising prices, rising bread prices are a problem for the people in Sudan. And the US is helping Sudan. Why is the US helping Sudan? Sudan is strategically very important for the US, viewers, because we know that in October, Sudan normalized its ties with Israel, and the US played a key role in making Sudan normalize its ties with Israel. Secondly, Russia is building a naval base in Sudan, viewers, and the US has been raising concerns about a Russian naval base in the Red Sea along Sudanese coast, viewers. A few days ago, we heard that Sudanese government had told Russia that Russia should pack up and go, and Sudan was not ready for any Russian naval base in Sudan. The news could not be confirmed, viewers. Reportedly, Russian naval ships are still in Sudanese waters, viewers. So, US is trying to strengthen its ties with Sudan, viewers. At the same time, US-Egypt ties have also strengthened, and US-Ethiopia relations are worsening, viewers. So you see that Egypt and Sudan are exerting pressure upon Ethiopia to stop Ethiopia from starting the second filling of GERD. US has good ties with both Sudan and Egypt. US Ethiopia ties are worsening. US has imposed sanctions on Ethiopia. In an interesting development, yesterday, Russian ambassador to Ethiopia announced that in the coming days, Ethiopia-Russia cooperation in defense and security fields will enhance considerably. So it seems, viewers, that in the coming days we could see more cooperation between Ethiopia and Russia, Ethiopia and China, and we could see US getting closer to Sudan and Egypt, which are now Ethiopian rivals over dam dispute, viewers. Thank you for watching.